gonna need some alcohol for this one for sure.
For sure. Full disclosure, these chapters are a little tough to read through the lens of our 2020 selves. In the Twilight chapter, Edward's treatment of Bella is 100% emotionally manipulative, and in the Midnight Sun chapters, we get into the aforementioned creepy, obsessive vampire stalker, which is much less funny than we thought it would be last time. So if you want to skip this discussion, feel free to tune in to our next episode. But otherwise, let's get into it. Buckle up, everybody, because this is going to be a great episode. Yeah, welcome to Midlight Crisis. This is a real podcast hosted by 3 grown adults revisiting books from our teens, and it's totally cool. Even this episode.
Is it? I don't know if this one's cool.
I don't know if this one's cool. It's definitely not chill. So before we get into that, I think it's time to introduce ourselves with our randomly generated YA novel titles. So I am Sophie, and my randomly generated YA title of the day is The History of History and Inky Death.
No, that was mine!
Oh no!
Oh no. It's so funny though.
It is so good.
Guys.
How did we randomly generate the same name?
Randomly generate the same name. I love that it's The History of History and Inky Death.
Oh, it's so good. It's like a creepy horror thing, but not in like a Twilight horror way about books. You know?
The History of History sounds like a cheeky book about, I don't know, you'd find it in the comedy section where somebody's like, I'm going to talk about the history of the world.
It also sounds like something, oh, what's his face? George Martin. What's his name? The
George
Game of
R. R.
Thrones guy?
Martin.
George R. R. Martin?
Yeah. It seems like something George R. R. Martin. It seems like something that fellow would write.
That guy. Yeah, that's fair.
I immediately thought it would be a history of squid deaths.
Oh.
Like Inky Deaths by Squids. That's where my head went.
Oh man, I would also read that book.
Right?
Yep.
All right, well, how about we give Hannah a second to find a new name? Sorry. Sam, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, I'm Sam, and my randomly generated title for today is A Master of Wisps and Sawdust. I can't say wisps.
Oh,
Wisps.
we're all having a hard time with words today.
But yeah, I'm a master of wisps and sawdust. Wow, that sounds ridiculous to say.
I mean,
I like that.
Yeah, like it feels like I don't know what that book would be about, which intrigues me.
Mysterious.
It's definitely about like a fantasy woodworker who lives in Ireland.
Yeah! With
That's a good
wisps like
point.
Brave, but Brave
Yeah.
is Scotland. But yeah!
But yeah.
Oh, it's definitely about a fantasy woodworker who lives wherever in the British Isles it is appropriate for wisps to be.
Yeah!
Whichever
Good correction. Course corrected that one.
one. Yeah, probably all of it.
Oh boy.
Great. Well, I'm sorry I stole yours, Hannah, but do you have
That's
another
okay.
one for us?
Yes. The random number generator has given me a new book for the day because my name is Hannah, and my YA title for today is The Ferocity of Librarians and Cows.
I love it.
Of what?
I love it.
The Ferocity of Librarians and Cows.
Cows. Do you think like the librarians and the cows are teamed up against?
Ooh.
Or are they fighting one another?
Because the cows are trying to eat the books.
Oh.
Hmm.
Yeah, I was definitely thinking that they were on opposing sides in whatever conflict is central to the plot of this novel.
I mean, I'll still read it, whether they're on the same side or opposite sides.
Maybe it's like really old-timey and the cows are revolting against being used as vellum.
Yeah, please stop using the cows.
Just like, we don't like this.
It's a history book of why we stopped using cows.
Yeah, it's the history of history and cows.
Yeah. Time to get into the super great chapters of the books we read. we're going to do things a little bit differently this time because we actually had to read 2 Midnight Sun chapters to kind of encompass the one Twilight chapter. So we're going to talk, I think, about the first Midnight Sun chapter first, and then we'll get into the 2 chapters that kind of match up and are terrible.
Accurate.
Hannah, do you want to give us a description of what happened in chapter 4 of Midnight Sun?
Yeah, I actually really enjoyed chapter 4 of Midnight Sun. It's the first of what I personally hope to be many of a new and exclusive Midnight Sun perspective that deviates entirely from the Twilight structure to provide scenes that we haven't seen before. This one consists almost entirely of a round table with the Cullen family, where they discuss Edward's actions in the previous chapter, namely saving Bella from the truck and how he chose to do that, and the possible ramifications of those actions. Rosalie and Jasper are in camp Kill the Human, but over the course of the chapter are talked around by Carlisle and Alice respectively. In my opinion, Alice is the real MVP of this chapter. She's the one who drops the bomb that she and Bella are going to be good friends someday, and that she'll be very upset if her husband murders Bella before that has the chance to happen.
So good.
It was
good. So cute. I was so into it. And she also reveals that Edward's actions and choices have basically written 2 possible futures for Bella, which are she will either die at Edward's hands, or, fangs, or she will become a vampire like them. And Edward finds both of these possibilities horrifying, and yet it somehow does not stop him from the absolute malarkey that follows.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a really good chapter. I thoroughly enjoyed this one. It's fun seeing the family dynamic again. I know, guys, it's like a fan family thing, okay? Just give me a break.
I knew you would love this chapter. When I was reading it, I was like, I hadn't even messaged you yet. I was like, this chapter has Hannah written all the fuck over it.
Oh, it's so cute. It's really sweet. It got me all squirmy.
Yeah, I agree. I enjoyed it too. I thought it was an interesting insight to their whole dynamics too that you don't really get in Twilight. Especially, I don't know, maybe this was brought up more in the later in this series, but like the fact that Edward's mind reading is so important for them to like know whether people are thinking weird of them or like suspicious of them. And I couldn't remember if that was like a big thing in later in this series or not, but I was like, oh yeah, that like actually makes sense a lot that he would need to stick around. So
I read the Twilight chapter before the Midnight Sun chapters, and through the Twilight chapter I was like, why the heck is Edward still there? Like, why hasn't he left from like what we saw last time? Why is he still there? And this chapter did a really good job of explaining why Edward can't leave now, which was cool. I also really liked the entire car ride back, Rosalie just screaming obscenities at Edward in her head.
That was so good.
It was so good.
I low-key love Rosalie. I know like she wanted to kill Bella and everything, but like she's just such a badass bitch. And I'm like, I like her a lot.
I'm kind of bothered that even in Midnight Sun she's still characterized as being vapid and bitchy.
I know.
Because it's like, we all know that there's more depth to Rosalie than we saw in Twilight.
Yeah.
But I'm starting to wonder if maybe, like, Stephanie Meyer doesn't know that there's more depth to Rosalie than we saw in Twilight.
Yeah.
The one thing that I really didn't like about this chapter is that all of the characters seem very much like one-dimensional caricatures rather than full characters.
Yeah, which is especially weird. This ties into what I found the strangest about this chapter was how big this fight was and how quickly lines were drawn within the family.
Yeah.
Right? Because when you think about, like, this is from Edward's perspective, and, like, he says things that lead you to believe that he knows there's more to these people that are his family, and he knows this, but it's still entirely within his head. They're portrayed as these one-dimensional characters that just like instantly are like, yeah, oh, Jasper and Rosalie are gonna have to fight Edward to the death. You know?
It does bring up an interesting idea of like pack dynamics in vampires almost. Clearly their social structure is different than a human social structure. If it's so easy for them to bond so intensely, but also get so aggressive with each other.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if that's...
Yeah.
Is that a physiology thing? Should we talk about this later?
I think we should talk about it later, yeah.
Listen, we're 3 biologists. We're definitely going to talk about this later.
I definitely want to
100%.
talk about this.
We'll stay on track for right now, but once we're done. Yeah, it threw me off a little bit, especially when he's being so very human in the rest of the chapter, you know,
Yep.
and the next chapter, as in he's filled with terrible flaws. Like, there's something very human about Edward in these chapters, the way he's like reacting to things, and like it's weird almost to have it set against this like very vampire thing.
Mhm.
The thing I wanted to ask about the end of this chapter is, this is the first time Edward is horrified by the thought of Bella becoming a vampire,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
but it doesn't say why. Like, it doesn't, he never, we're in his head and he doesn't think why. Like, he's just automatically horrified and there's no reason given, which I'm pretty sure he says in the later Twilight books, but
He
here
does.
it's just nothing.
Yeah, I didn't even pick up on that, but that's a really good point. That's bad storytelling.
Yeah, especially because from my perspective, I don't remember the rest of the Twilight books. I don't remember anything, you guys. And I'm sitting here being like, why does he not want her to be a vampire? Like, he seems pretty chill in his vampire life. He likes all these
Yeah.
other vampires that he lives with. There's been no real... The next chapter is where we get into Edward feeling horrified by himself, but even not that much. And so it's like, he doesn't express... I don't know. Yeah. I'm just...
Yeah.
I don't really get it. I'm confused.
I remember Twilight and I still don't get it.
I kind of like understood it because I was like, I didn't actually question it at all because I remember the later chapters, and it's that Edward sees himself as a monster. Like, he sees vampires as monsters. He sees that as like a way of lessening somebody's life, but that's expressed later in the series. But I knew that, so that's why I didn't question it, because I was like,
Yeah.
I was filling in the gaps already. But I think it's an excellent point, Sophie, because like, yeah, if you don't remember it, then like,
Yeah.
it makes no sense.
The interesting thing with that is Edward has such revulsion for vampirism, basically, as a whole, and such admiration for the person who turned him into a vampire and
I
like
know.
condemned him to this life. It's very interesting, and I don't think I've quite thought through that thought process or like the cognitive dissonance there.
I thought about that too.
Because that's part of it, right? Because you don't get all... He treats his own, like when he's talking about feeding or when he's talking about, you know, his reaction to Bella, when he's... All of these things, it's very like clinical.
Yes.
He's not repulsed by his own need to drink blood in these chapters anywhere. Like, he's not repulsed by having to hunt. He's not shameful. Like, there's none of that. And then, but all of a sudden he's like, oh my God, I could never turn Bella into a vampire. And it's like, what? Why? What? So
Yeah, good point.
that's just me though, I guess.
I think it's an excellent point. Honestly, if I didn't remember his characterization, I guess, and just like those little snippets like I do, I probably would have thought the same thing. So I think it's a good point to bring up.
Yeah.
For sure. Another good point that I think is hilarious to bring up is how angry Emmett gets when Edward and Alice have their like half conversations where she's seeing the future and he's reading her mind, and they both just like make like monosyllabic or single word sentences, and he's in the background just like, what is going on? Stop doing that. It's so annoying. It was so good.
So good. Wait, we should read just what Edward says out loud so that we can get
Okay.
the full Emmett effect. Okay, I have it. Once Alice starts talking, the last thing Alice says is, I don't see you going anywhere, Edward. I don't know if you can leave anymore. And then Edward says, I don't hear that. Why are you doing this to me? Love her too? No.
Wow.
I don't have to follow that course. I'll leave. I will change the future. You can try. And then Emmett goes, oh, come on. And Rosalie's like, basically, are you an idiot? Alice sees him falling for a human.
And then Emmett laughs, which I feel like is the correct response.
Yeah. Just his
God,
response,
I love Emmett.
his response being like, tough break, Edward.
Emmett is like such a frat dude, bro, but he's
Yeah.
so much fun. He's like
I
the
love
only
him.
character in that entire house with a sense of humor.
Emmett's a himbo, 100%.
Yes.
We stan a himbo.
We stan a himbo. Ah, I hate saying stan. We dab for a himbo. Okay, anyway.
I'm gonna tweet that real quick.
We'll dab for himbos. I didn't expect that part about what Emmett heard to be so funny. That was so funny. Hey, how far from Seattle is Forks?
Good question. It's a couple hours, isn't it? Yeah, because he just runs all the fucking way, right?
Yeah, I was like, Edward just runs to Seattle every day after school to be dramatic. And hey, wait. Oh man, you know what I wish? Okay, at some point, I hope Edward gives us a time frame so that we can reverse math how fast he can run.
Yes.
Oh yeah. So I have Google mapped the walking distance from Forks, Washington to Seattle, Washington.
Mhm.
Fun fact, they are on opposite sides of like a sound. So you have to take a rather circuitous route. It says 162 miles. Caution, this route includes a ferry. And it will take 51 hours for a walking human.
Okay, wait, hold on. Wait, stop everything. Wait.
Uh-huh.
Okay, wait. There's a sound in the middle because
Yeah.
Edward, his words say, I ran due east over and through the mountains without breaking my straight course until I could see a hazy hint of Seattle.
Yeah, that's not
So
possible.
he just ran straight over water. No, that's what I'm saying. He ran through the ocean.
I mean, he doesn't have to breathe.
Yeah, that's a
Okay,
great
here's
point.
a very important question. Are vampires negatively buoyant?
Yes.
Well, he would have to breathe out all of his air, wouldn't he?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
he doesn't need any air.
He doesn't need it, so he would exhale all the air in his lungs. And because their skin is so like rock hard solid, I'm assuming that would add enough weight to them to make
Oh,
them
good
negative
point.
buoyant. And yeah, my vote would be negative.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
but can I pitch?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
They're very negatively buoyant, and so you have like spy hopping vampires
Porpoising.
Oh my god.
trying to get to neutral buoyancy as they swim through a lake.
Oh my god, I'm dying.
Just gulping air like a shark.
You know what I literally just envisioned? I just envisioned that they'd have to like, because like for scuba diving we have to wear lead weight, but they would have to wear like little
water wings.
little wings.
Oh my god.
But then is it faster for a vampire to run while negatively buoyant at the bottom or to swim while neutrally buoyant?
Probably swimming? Because
Well,
swimming is a more hydrodynamic shape, right? Running
That's
your
true.
entire body is pushing against the water.
But if you
Yeah.
need something on you that has air that would stick out, that wouldn't be as aerodynamically favorable as, say, lead weights on a scuba diver, would then that affect? Because I'm just like envisioning literally Edward in the middle of a lake with water wings.
Right. So I guess what it would have to be is it would have to be the gulping air hypothesis. They would have
so
to
spy
just be
hopping.
able, so they'd have to just go up and like full on gar at the surface and be like, "Mom."
Yeah. So that raises an interesting question: is how much of their like total human lung capacity does a vampire retain, and would that be adequate to provide like neutral buoyancy? Because it says their skin is like diamond. It doesn't say it is diamond. It could just be very hard human skin.
It would be impossible.
What's the
Is it
density of a
porous?
vampire?
What's the density of a vampire?
Stephanie Mayer.
Hey,
What's the density
Stephanie
of a
Mayer?
vampire? Please tweet me. Can this be the entire episode?
I was gonna
Yeah.
say, guys, we've been recording for 30 minutes and we haven't even gotten to chapter 5 yet.
Don't want to.
So now that we've had a really great time talking about vampires as oceanographers, let's pivot fully and just have an awful, terrible time talking about vampires as terrible human beings.
Yeah, it's gonna be super great. Hey, Sam, why don't you tell us what happened in the Twilight chapter?
Yeah, so I've just got a quick summary here. So basically, a month goes by over this chapter, and Bella starts by giving an overview of all of her Edward dreams, and then we see
Ugh.
Edward ignoring her for most of the month. 3 boys try and fail to get Bella as their date to the dance, which I might add is a women's choice dance, and yet all 3 of them still asked her, and like, we'll get into that, but anyways. And then to finish, Edward offers to go to Seattle with Bella. So I was kind of right last episode in guessing that the date was coming up next. But besides that, I had a lot of issues with this chapter in the sense of men being problematic. And I just want to go on record and say I apologize for last episode being so hyped on the Edward train again, because, well, this was not very swoon-worthy. So I'll leave it at that for now.
0 swoons from Sam.
There was 0 swoons from Sam this week. From any of the men, to be perfectly honest, even the 3 humans.
Yeah, they're awful. What the heck?
Yeah.
They are awful, but they are typical high school, like, stupid boys. So I can be, like, a little bit more about those ones because they're just young and dumb.
Hey, do you think this chapter is Stephanie Meyer being like, hey, men suck?
That would be fun. I
maybe.
don't. Not to get, like, too negative and meta, I think she is far too Mormon-y.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's
fair.
Yep.
How can I say that in a less offensive way? She has very traditional values.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah, as someone who has Mormon family, yes.
But yeah, that was super great. So how about we hear what happened in the Midnight Sun chapter? Hannah?
Good. I've been looking forward to this. To start off, the first line is a delight. The first line in this chapter is, high school. Purgatory no longer. It was now purely hell. Torment and fire. ... Yes, I had both. Which, like, wow. Wow.
Edward is 100,000 times more dramatic than any teen girl because Bella's not this dramatic.
No, she's not. I want to make, at some point, maybe by the end of this podcast, I'm just going to make a compilation of all of the dramatic hell metaphors that Edward does, and it's going to be hilarious and disturbing.
We'll cross-stitch it and hang it on the wall.
Yeah. And speaking of disturbing, Chapter 5 of Midnight Sun is so very genuinely disturbing. It does mirror Chapter 4 of Twilight in that it covers the same events in the way we've come to expect from Midnight Sun, but Edward's headspace and internal monologue take a really terrifying turn. His interest in Bella has become full-blown obsession coupled with that, like, vampiric rage that we've seen a couple times. He starts fantasizing about killing the mortal boys who express interest in Bella, all while continuing to stonewall and gaslight her. And then, of course, we get to the creepy vampire stalking part, where he shows up in her room to watch her sleep. The attempted justification is that he wants to keep her safe, but this is, like, textbook stalker boyfriend, and it made me super uncomfortable to read about it. I don't know about you guys, when I first read Twilight, like, about a decade ago, this whole Edward watching Bella sleep thing was still creepy, but written off as, like, maybe kind of romantic, not really a big deal. I didn't put a whole lot of thought into it, and I don't know if it's age or the insight into Edward's mind, but there is absolutely nothing romantic about this chapter as it's written, and it really crashes Midnight Sun hard into the horror genre.
Yeah.
So, let's discuss that.
Yeah, I, like, my notes for this chapter, I would write, like, a thought about something that happened, and my notes were, like, they all end with, like, okay, Edward, Edward with a bunch of exclamation points, double yikes, big red flags. Like, there's just so much going on here.
Yeah.
There's nothing he does that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost like at the beginning, you guys had read the chapter before me, and so you were both being like, this is awful. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh man. And so I was coming into it trying to like take it moment by moment. When does the terrible happen? Is it from the start? And at the very beginning, you kind of give some leeway because you're like, oh, he's starting to explain. Like, it's a lot of trying to put into words why Edward made the choices he did. Because in what he says the reason is very different from how Bella interprets it, right? Bella definitely interprets it as a 17-year-old girl who is not very confident in herself, but the way she interprets it is not how Edward like thought about it happening. Like, it's not what he meant to do. But on that note, just because it's not what he meant to do does not mean that's what he's doing. Wait.
He hits a really interesting point where his intentions are bad, and the way he comes across is not what he intended, but it's still bad.
Yeah.
None of it's okay, but from the different perspective, it's wrong in two different ways, which is fun and exciting.
Yeah. 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 Yep. New and great. Yeah, honestly, in the Bella chapters, I was a little bit frustrated with Bella, only because, like, I was frustrated with Bella. I was really mad at Edward. And it's the same as, like, knowing now how this behavior comes off. I'm, like, angry at Bella for not being more confident in herself and, like, not recognizing that. Yeah, what are the quotes?
I have one. One of them is, Bella, you are utterly absurd.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Another, I'm sorry, that was rude. I'm not saying it isn't true, but it was rude to say it anyway.
Oh my god.
You really should stay away from me. I'll see you in class. Like, just...
Yeah, and the one right before that where I said it would be better if we weren't friends, not that I didn't want to be. Yeah.
Yes.
So, like, those three textbook examples of gaslighting, right? Like, him making her feel like her emotions or what she has felt or is expressing are not valid and she's imagining them. Oh man. So terrifying. If anyone treats you like this, do not stay around that person. But yeah, well, we won't stay on this too long. It doesn't even hold a candle to the watching Bella sleep part, which is infinitely worse.
Yeah, I'm hoping that we will get this across in many more words, but in the event that it doesn't translate and we don't manage to say what we mean, I guess, the same way Edward is doing, if you are listening to this, and if anybody ever treats you the way that Edward acts in either of these chapters, please be aware that that's not okay. I know we've been talking about how Twilight is, like, fun and this, like, romantic story. This is not okay. Just, like, I don't know. Please don't let anybody treat you like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to say, as someone who's personally dealt with this behavior in men towards me, I had a really hard time with these chapters, and just know that, like, you're not wrong in doubting if someone treats you this way. Like, this is not okay. And I think when I was younger and reading this, it was highly romanticized in my head. I think it goes to Sophie's comment and Bella not having the confidence, because it's something I think a lot of 16, 17-year-old girls struggle with, is their insecurities and their confidence. And then you have boys that will come and talk to you. And even though we were kind of like ratting on Mike and Eric and Tyler, whatever, I don't even think their behavior was anywhere near what Edward's was. So just know that this is not okay, and don't doubt yourself if you're questioning. If someone's telling you you're being absurd, you're probably not. So just take that with you.
Yeah. Yeah, and last time we were talking about Edward as like an 100-year-old 17-year-old, right? Like having a 17-year-old mind, which is why he was being all dramatic and all that, and falling in love instantly. But like in this chapter, along with the thing Hannah said about dipping into the horror genre, this chapter made me like very deeply feel that he was much older
Mhm.
than Bella, right? Like,
It feels very much like the older man preying on a teenage girl.
exactly. Yeah,
Mhm.
because that's the gaslighting, like all of that.
It's oh man, it's rough.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, so we've been talking a lot about how awful this chapter is, and I don't really want to talk about the details that much anymore, but I was thinking, do you think that Stephanie Meyer is purposefully leaning into horror? And do you think that Midnight Sun might end up being more of a horror novel? And how you feel about that, if that would be the case?
I don't like reading horror. I like writing horror. I think it would be okay either way if it wasn't marketed as a love story towards teenagers.
Yeah, that's where I struggle with it too.
Yeah, if it went full horror and like he ended up eating her or like turned her into a vampire and then she regretted it and realized that she wasn't actually in love, she was just 17 and it was that kind of horror and it was marketed as that kind of horror, I'd be down. But the fact that it is marketed as this like remarkable supernatural love story and then it portrays such absolute blatant abusive behavior and doesn't call that out as being abusive behavior. Like Edward even talks about how he is acting obsessive and violating and irrational, and then he casts that aside as if it doesn't matter and it's okay for him to do it anyway. That's the part that bothers me, is that it's never framed in a way that condemns it.
I agree, and I think I would rather it be just flat out put as horror, but it's not. It's marketed as romance, and I struggle with it now that it's so romanticized because teenage girls are so impressionable, and me personally, I used to look up to this as like, oh, this is what love is, and this isn't what love is. So I almost wish that if she was doing it intentionally, that it was blatant and like, yeah, this is going to be horror, it's not a love story, so that it doesn't give these false impressions to impressionable teenagers who will be reading it.
Yeah.
Right.
So I guess to answer the question, I don't think she's doing it intentionally, which is what's scary about it.
Yeah. I don't know if I answered it, but yeah.
That's fair. Because for me, obviously we've only gotten like one chapter into if this is actually going to be horror, right?
Yeah.
We've only gotten one chapter of that. But think about it. We as teens read Twilight and all of us thought, oh, a romantic story, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And then we're reading Midnight Sun now and we're like, it's horror. This is a horrible relationship. Like it's sending us back to look at it and pick it apart to find out the truth of what Twilight was, which was that it's at this point very much not a healthy relationship.
Yes. Oh my god.
So it might not be intentional, it might be intentional, whatever, but I personally hated reading this chapter, but I think it's interesting how it's making us go back and pick apart the original chapter. Not that everyone is reading the books this way, but like this chapter did not come across in any way romantic to me.
No.
And so that might be us, that might end up being a lot of people. So I don't know. I think it'll be interesting to see what happens next with that. If I finish Midnight Sun and I hate Edward, I'll be so excited. Like oh man, this is gonna be great.
I'm gonna shift to Team Jacob. Actually, like I'm already on Team Jacob.
Jacob wasn't great either.
Yeah, I think we're gonna.
I was just gonna say that after I said it. I was like, wait, I think Jacob also had his problems.
Yeah. You know what? I'm on Team Eric. I like Eric.
I like Eric too.
Only because he said he wanted to go to Comic-Con and y'all are giant nerds.
Okay. I mean, I think it was about half an hour before I read this chapter, the three of us were talking about how we all wanted to go to a Comic-Con or like a book con together. Yes. And then I read this and I was like, guys!
If there hadn't been a pandemic this summer, I was going to be going to Comic-Con, so I can't even talk. Anyway. Yeah.
Hey, Sophie. Did you notice that they mentioned Star Wars in this chapter?
No, it didn't happen. Anyway, so we're talking about something else now.
Can I just mention the one line from the Twilight chapter that I don't know why it made me laugh my head off, but the exchange between Bella and Edward when he picks up her books and like the dialogue tags just like sent me. It was so funny. So Edward picks up Bella's books when she drops them, and the scene follows thusly. "Thank you," I said icily. "You're welcome," he retorted. And I could I can hear that scene and like picture it. Like that passive aggressive way that like teenagers and also I respond to people when I'm mad at them but don't want to say anything about it.
So funny. I know there are a couple parts where I'm just like, yeah, go off, Bella, in my notes. I wrote in all caps, yes, take out the rear of his Volvo.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed Edward getting all biology up in the chapter where
in Bella's room.
Up in Bella's room. I wasn't going to talk about that part, but there was the first part where he mentions all the potential venomous creatures that could kill Bella, I guess. Which is just venomous snakes, scorpions, centipedes, and spiders.
Those are the only ones.
Those are the only ones. And also, aren't they in the Pacific Northwest? Like,
yeah.
What? Edward? Shouldn't you be more worried about, like, bears? I don't even know. Gonna get ravaged by, like, a sea otter.
Yeah. Oh, like a sea lion?
Yeah.
Moose? Do they have moose in the Pacific Northwest? Those are scary.
Large mammals are way scarier than any snake, scorpion, centipede, or spider. Fight me on Twitter at biologizing. Come fight me.
If you don't think that large herbivores are the most terrifying animals on the planet, I don't know what to do with you.
As someone who lived in Newfoundland, moose are terrifying.
Yeah.
Put some Newfoundland flavor on that, Sam.
So you
Oh yeah, the moose there.
The moose there by down the lake. Oh, God. Yeah, you have to be very aware of moose in Newfoundland, and like it's not even a joke. You have to have a moose buddy, like your shotgun who's driving with you is not allowed to sleep if you're driving at night. Like they have to be on moose duty. I'm not even kidding you guys. Like it's a very serious thing. I actually only ever saw one moose when I was there, and it was a baby moose, and it was by my lab at the time. I never actually saw one when I was driving, but I knew a few friends who had some close calls. So moose, they're scary.
Yeah, I just Googled it real quick. Apparently there are approximately 3,000 moose in the state of Washington. So, Edward, forget about the venomous snakes.
Yeah.
Worry about the moose.
Worry about the moose. And then there was the hobo spider.
The hobo spider!
Tell us about the hobo spider, Sam.
I don't actually know a lot about spiders. Actually, yeah, Sophie knows I don't really like spiders, even because she posted the jumping spider, though frighteningly cute. Terrified me.
So
spiders are great in pictures.
Yeah.
I don't care for them in real life too much. Yeah.
Guys, I love jumping spiders so much.
They're
really so
good.
Cute. They have such big eyes.
Did you know that jumping spiders' eyes are strong enough that they can see the moon? Jumping spiders can see the moon. Isn't that cute?
Aww.
Sophie, stop trying to make the spider adorable because it terrifies me, but I love it.
So cute. Anyway.
Could a jumping spider be a werewolf?
Oh my god. But the hobo spider.
It turns into the tiniest little wolf. Okay, anyway.
No. It turns into a wolf spider. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
It turns into a wolf spider.
Okay. Anyway,
hobo
spiders.
Hobo spiders. Do they carry little bandanas on sticks?
Probably.
Hop on trains.
I wish.
They're probably on trains.
So the hobo spider. This was like the only part of this whole chapter that I was like, oh, I really appreciate this. Mostly because she included the proper scientific Latin name for the spider.
Eratigena.
Eratigena.
Agrestis.
Thank you, Sophie. Sophie should really be the one leading this, but alas, I am.
I'm teaching Sam to like spiders by making her talk about them.
Exactly. So Edward talks about it, which he knew a shocking amount about it, like that by the size it was likely a juvenile male. They were once considered dangerous, but their venom has been proven to like not be super harmful to humans. So I went to our good old reliable source of Wikipedia.
Yeah.
I didn't actually fact check this, but it seems okay. So Wikipedia says, although the toxicity and aggression of the hobo spider have long been debated, there is little evidence that the hobo spider is dangerously venomous species. The CDC reported case studies in the 1990s claiming that the hobo spider bite caused isolated cases of necrosis. No, necrosis.
Yep.
Anyways. But as of 2017, the CDC no longer lists it as a venomous species, and in Canada, there has been no evidence that the hobo spider bite can cause skin necrosis.
So it's only US hobo spiders that you have to worry about.
It's those Americans.
Those Americans.
Everybody knows that Americans have venomous bites.
But yeah, I really like the hobo spider, Sophie, even though I don't like spiders. I just appreciated the science.
Listen, if anyone listening to this ever writes a book, just include one species name and your book will go to like top of my list. I'll be like, this was the best book.
Agree.
10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, I personally, my favorite line was, okay, I actually thought it was very funny that after the three boys finagle things, is that how you say that word? Anyway, twist things so that they ask Bella to go to the women's choice dance. Edward is like about to ask her to go to Seattle, but phrases it as though he's gonna ask her to go to the dance.
Yeah.
And
she's so mad.
I thought that was pretty good.
Good, harmless fun.
Yeah, but my favorite line was leading into that, where Edward just tells himself, like, keep it light. And then he goes, will you go to Seattle with me? And it's very funny. Just like, keep it calm. Hey, do you want to get in a car with me for 3 hours?
Oh, God.
Yeah, right?
That sounds like a nightmare for a first date.
It's
right.
It reminds me a lot in Hades Town. There's this line where Orpheus wants to talk to Eurydice, and the narrator's like, you want to talk to her? Okay, don't come on too strong. And then Orpheus runs out to her and is like, come home with me. And so maybe I'm just biased to think this line is like the same genre, but it just made me laugh.
That is pretty funny.
Keep it light.
Good, yeah.
Come to Seattle with me.
I had several favorite lines from this chapter. Actually, there's a lot of really funny ones. Can I break you off my favorite?
Yes.
Which I think I put this in the chat, but I had to put the book down because I was laughing so hard. Because in this, I relate a lot to Edward, where he is trying to speak with Bella. And
oh no, it's too much.
His internal monologue goes, surely this is not a normal human way to converse. Why did she do it? And that's like every conversation I have with someone. I'm like, surely this is not a normal human conversation. How do I converse like a normal human being? Why did she do it?
Oh my god.
Oh my god, it's so funny. It's so funny. I don't even remember the context of that line.
Right?
Just
Very
and they
funny.
also do the thing where they reference the title of this book in this chapter, which I always appreciate. Edward says, a sun was rising now in the middle of my midnight, which would be lovely and romantic if it wasn't him staring at Bella as she slept.
Yeah. Yikes. I know. Plus we get like the horny Edward at the end of this chapter, and I'm like, oh, I'm done here. I don't want to be in his head for this.
But also horny Bella and Edward not noticing. When she's dreaming about him being all sexy and like murmurs his name in her chapter.
Yeah.
In Edward's chapter, he's like, oh, her heartbeat stuttered. In fear or anger? It's like, no, in horny Edward.
Yeah, it's like lust didn't even like cross his mind.
Nope.
Yeah, it's like the previous chapter where Bella's
Yeah.
like, "Oh man, Carlisle's hot," and Edward's like, "Oh no, she can see that we're related."
Yeah.
Edward.
He's so
So I don't even know.
prudish, almost. Uptight. Uptight is
Yeah.
probably a good one. And
Well,
at one point he like lists all of the like crimes that his family has done. He's like, oh, we, short the stock market, we do insider trading, we like forge identities. Oh, and also the murders. And it's like, yeah, also the murders, Edward.
that line made me laugh too.
I will say that information was something that I've always wondered, and I'm kind of glad it was included because I don't know, for me, I was just like, yeah, how do they do it? I guess it's kind of obvious, but also insightful.
Yeah. Yeah, like if you ignore most of this chapter, there's some really good short little bits in it. Like the stuff at the beginning where we get to see more of them all interacting in high school, and like they even introduce a couple more human characters, which I appreciated.
Yeah.
And they talk about going to Comic-Con, which I appreciated.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Wars.
having a point where it's almost like I get frustrated when it's nothing but the exact same dialogue.
Yeah, I don't like
copy
that.
pasted, and she has just like worked around it. Like I understand, yes, you have to do that, but like in these chapters, we saw a whole new scene in the high school, and it was like, this is really cool. That whole scene builds Bella more as a character, which I was so excited about because I was like, what? Like, oh, here's Bella's characterization that never really happened in Twilight. She's being like, yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
I didn't give Bella personality until later. And it's like, okay, well here you're giving it to her earlier. So I liked that part.
There are some good points in this chapter amidst the rest of it.
Like 4.
Yeah, there's like 4 good lines in this chapter.
Yeah. Out of like 30 pages.
Oh god. I had to read this chapter in chunks. I couldn't do it all in one go.
I'm not like particularly sensitive to this kind of thing. I watched both seasons of You on Netflix, which is the same premise of like a guy stalking and, spoiler, eventually murdering a girl he thinks he's in love with. This was almost more disturbing.
Yeah, I think I'm not gonna watch You.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't recommend it to anybody who is a woman bothered by murder. Yeah, but like I was saying before, at least that show is very clear that what is happening is not correct. And the fact that I know I said it, the fact that this chapter does not portray this as something that is to be absolutely condemned just really disturbed me.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, not a great set of chapters.
No.
But we got through it, and maybe next time's a fucking date.
Oh, fuck.
Well, next chapter is blood type.
Oh yeah, is it the same in both?
It is the same in both. So in both books, the next chapter is blood type. And I vaguely remember this, but I don't remember what happens around that event.
What event? Oh, are you gonna not
like
spoil
they do
it for me?
No,
I don't
they
remember.
do.
Oh, this is
They do a blood typing.
Yeah,
they do a blood typing lab, and Edward is excused. And I believe that just like builds up on Bella's suspicions that like something mysterious is about this boy. But I don't remember what else happens.
Guys, I am so excited that even though the name of the chapter is blood type, before you said it, I remembered that they do a blood type test. I remembered something about this book.
You did!
Sophie, I'm so proud of you.
I remembered it. Wow.
Wow. What blood type is Bella? Bella's like O negative, isn't she?
The rarest kind. She's O double negative. Double O negative.
She's type ooh.
Type ooh. Type delicious. Anyway, I don't think we're going to get into what else we were going to talk about today.
No, we got a little off the rails with vampire scuba diving.
Yeah. But that was sort of what I wanted to do anyway, so we did it, but differently.
I also want to go vampire scuba diving.
Yeah, I'll save my good vampire biology questions for next time.
Oh, vampire biology. I mean, next time is blood typing, so we can talk about biology.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
We'll definitely talk about vampire biology again 100,000 times.
Yeah.
That's all I want to talk about, really.
Yeah, me too.
Vampire biology and all of these hilarious lines of Edward being the most dramatic creature that has ever lived.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that will just about wrap up for today. The difficult episode, as it will be called from now on.
Yeah.
Probably to be followed by more difficult episodes. But
certainly.
Yeah, did you guys have any final thoughts or things to say?
Long live the hobo spider.
Normally, this is where I say, if you liked this chapter, but I didn't like this chapter. So if you
liked us not liking this chapter,
yeah, if you appreciated our discussion in this chapter of Midlight Crisis, consider rating and reviewing the podcast on iTunes or your podcatcher of choice. We've recently expanded and we are now on Spotify and coming up on YouTube, so look forward to that. Or you can share the show with a friend. You can talk to us and find fun-related content, including a fun new game that will be coming soon on social media. We are at Midlight Pod on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And all chapters of the show thus far are available on our website, midlightpod.podbean.com.
And to close things out, just remember, every time you see a silver Volvo on the road, just think, stupid, shiny Volvo owner.
I wanted Bella to hit him in the back of the car so badly.
Sophie, no. Who is this anonymous wombat?
It's me. It's me.
What are you doing?
This is what I do when I'm reading from a document.
What?
Whoops. And I'm stressed. I highlight and then unhighlight. This is what I do.
Oh.
Anyway.
Sophie was highlighting what I was reading while I was reading it, and it was making it very difficult to concentrate.